Okay, to complete this section, I want to finish up with the idea of what we left off with, and it was this. Right at the end of the last video, we proved that these two functions are inverses of each other. Now what I want to do is show you, if I give you one function, how do you get to the inverse function? If you don't know it, how do you get to that inverse function? Now remember, it's easy with ordered pairs. All you do is invert the ordered pairs. But if I don't know this one, and I only know this one, how do I actually find that inverse function? And that's what we will close out with in this section. In order to do that, I need to give you a note. Take down this note. Title the note, Finding the Inverse Function for a Given Function. Finding the inverse function for a given function. Now, we're not talking about ordered pairs here. Okay, 3 easy steps here. Step 1. Write the given function as y equal. Now, you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. Step 2. Interchange the x and y variables. So that means wherever you have an x, put a y. Wherever you have a y, put an x. And if you think about it, that's what inverse functions do. It swaps your x's and y's around. And then step 3, solve the new equation back for y. Solve the new equation back for y. And then step 4, write the answer using inverse notation. Okay, so here's what we're about to do. I'm not going to give you the instructions yet, but let me say it. I'm about to give you this one, and we're going to use those 4 steps that you just wrote down to come up with this one right here. All right, let's do that. Write these instructions down. Find the inverse function for the given function. All right. This is real easy to do, but you got to memorize your steps. All right, here's the function. All right, step 1. Step 1 says, write the given function as y equal to. So the first thing I'll do here is write this as y equal 2x plus 5. Step 2, interchange your x's and y's. So wherever you have a y, put an x. Wherever you have an x, put a y. So replace that with x, replace that with y. Turn that into a y. Step 3, solve the new equation back for y. So get the y by itself. All right, how do I get the y by itself? Well, first subtract 5 from both sides. So I have x minus 5 equal 2y. And then to get rid of the number in front of y, you divide by it. And whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. The 2's cancel. And so now you have y equal x minus 5 over 2. Or if you want to turn that around and write it y equal x minus 5 over. Same thing. It just looks better to me like this. Now, look at that right there. That is the exact inverse function. If you look back at the problem we did earlier, you'll see that that's the same problem. Oh, we didn't call it y, it was called g of x, but it's still the same function. Now what we do when you solve it back for y is we use the inverse notation. Well, remember the original function was called f of x. Well, this is the inverse of f, and the way we write that is like that. Okay? Let's do 2 more examples to close this section out. And the instructions here is to find the inverse function. All right, here we go. Step 1. Write the given function as y equal. Remember, f of x is the same thing as y. Step 2, interchange your x's and y's. Now step 3, get the y by itself. So I want to add 3 to both sides. So I have x plus 3 equals 7y. Divide by 7 to get rid of the 7 in front of the y. So I'd have y equal x plus 3 over 7. And when you do that, that is your inverse function. Okay. Last example here. Let's look at g of x equals 5 over x minus 3. There's several ways you can do this one, but all right, here we go. I want to find the inverse. Step 1, write this as y equal. That's step 1. Step 2, swap the x's and y's around. Step 3, get the y by itself. Okay, I need to do a couple of things. First, I want to move the 3 across to actually add 3 to both sides. Now, what's the problem here? I'm solving for y, but where is y located? It's in the bottom. So here's what I'm going to do. To get rid of this dividing y, I'm going to multiply by y. But whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So multiply both sides by y. When I do, the y's cancel, which is why I did that. And so the left side, don't distribute. You'll see why in just a second. So you've got y times x plus 3 equals 5. Now what are we trying to do here? Get the y by itself. This is multiplying x plus 3. So to get rid of the multiplying x plus 3, you divide by it. But whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And so this would be y equals 5 over x plus 3. And then when you solve it back for y, that is your inverse function. And we'll write it g inverse of x. Now, why did I write it g inverse and not f? Because if you'll look back up at the original problem, the original function was called g in this problem and not f. Okay, so that concludes section 5.4 video, and that concludes then this section, this chapter and section and video.